Welcome to Natural Habitat Adventures Daily Dose of Nature. I'm your host, Brooke Mitchell, and today's webinar is Marvelous Migration, the Great Gray Whales of Baja with NatHab Expedition Leader Sofia Merino. Thank you so much for being here today, Sophia. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Brooke. Hello, everybody. My name is Sofia, as Brooke mentioned, and I'm an expedition leader that works in this program, this amazing program. And this presentation, we're going to be talking a little bit about an introduction about the whales and why they are here in Mexico, and about the team that works here, and then we'll continue to more of the details of the itinerary. And hopefully, with all of this, a lot of your answers are going to be with a lot of your questions are going to have answers at the end of this, and cannot wait to see you down in Mexico. So let's go ahead and start. That's me. So I'm Sofia. I'm originally from mainland Mexico, from Guadalajara, but I live now for the past 15 years in the Baja Peninsula. La Paz is the city that I live. I studied marine biology. I totally love working, living, doing all my activities down here in Baja. And my specialty is marine biology, whales in particular. I've been working with NatHab now for almost seven years. So I've been enjoying my time with the company. This particular program, I always have to highlight, to put it out there, that is made, of course, of the gray whales, but also of an amazing team that right now I am representing this team in speaking to all of you. We have a team that is made by only women, which I think that's pretty cool. The expedition leaders, our staff in Loreto, and part of the staff, of course, also at the camp. But um, this year we have all of our guides that are living. They live here in the Baja Peninsula, and we know each other from before, and we just love going there and working with all of you. So this is just like a sermon of pictures from the staff that will be with you and your expedition leaders also. Um, so from here, let's dive right into the whales, right? So right now, I always try to think in my year, what are the whales doing? If it's January, if it's March, if it's November, if it's mid-August, I'm like, where are the gray whales, right? So right now, the gray whales are actually migrating. They are currently around the southern part of the U.S. Most of the ones that are coming to Baja, and also they are, well, we know this because of different groups that are volunteers. The American Cetacean Society has different chapters or different groups in the whole coast of the US. And the groups of volunteers go to these viewpoints, and they basically are counting the whales that are passing by. So by these groups here, I'm just sharing like one of them, the LA chapter that I follow. We see here then, since December 1st, they've seen, these volunteers in this particular spot, 38 gray whales that have passed through that particular area, that particular viewpoint, right? This is just a minimum number, or the one that they've seen. And as you see, almost all of them are southbound, which that's what they should be doing. They're coming from north to south. Two here northbound, probably those two were just like wandering, going a little bit north, but then most likely they're coming south. So that is what they are doing. They are still moving. We are waiting for them. But actually, the great news is that some of them already arrived. This is a video that was posted by Kujima Camp, the camp that we go and visit in San Ignacio Lagoon, in just a couple of days ago. And this is the first gray whale that they've spotted. So some of them arrived. They believe that actually this is a female because she's really round and big. Potentially she's pregnant, which makes total sense. And I'm going to explain a little bit more of that. So again, right now they are still migrating, and they are arriving to Mexico. So with this, naturally, the question that follows is where? where are these whales coming from? So the whales are coming from the north, are coming from the Bering Sea that you see right here, this whole yellow area. This is the major feeding ground for them, and they're going to do this in the summer. If you've been up to Alaska, in some of the coastline of Alaska, you can see from the shore sometimes the gray whales while they are migrating or even when they are feeding. So that's what they're doing in the summer months, and by the fall they start to move a little bit more to the south, and then they continue their journey more and more and more. But focusing a little bit of this, while they are there, the main menu, their diet, are going to be these little crustaceans, these amphipods that are benthic. They are stuck in the soft bottom in that area, or also tube worms can be different crustaceans. And this is the most favorite diet for the gray whales when they are not here in Mexico. They are there feeding on these little crustaceans. Um, so yeah, this is just to have an idea of basically what is happening and where are these whales coming from. And they should be big and round and chubby and fat and huge because they've spent the whole summer eating as much as they can to make this whole journey to Mexico. So they are moving around 5,000 miles in 66 days. This is a whole average between the Arctic and Baja California. It's a long distance. And then this is just one way. So it's more than 10,000 miles round trip that these whales are going to be traveling. They are breaking records, actually, traveling a long, long distance, which that can be a whole other topic. And depending if it's a single whale or a female with a calf, they can be slower. So some of these females are traveling with their calves because they can give birth outside of the lagoons in Mexico as they are moving south. But this it's going to happen mostly in the south part of the U.S. and the Pacific coast of the Baja Peninsula if they are giving birth before. But again, we'll explain a little bit more into detail. So they continue their journey, and then now around the earliest that the whales can arrive to Mexico currently is going to be around December, that we start to see them in the Baja California Peninsula. So the whole peninsula is divided into two different states. We have from the middle north, Baja California, or we call it the northern part of Baja California. And then from here, from the middle south, is the southern state of Baja California. And this is where the gray whales are coming. Here we have the three different lagoons that they visit. We have we have Scamon's Lagoon, or Guerrero Negro as we call it. And then we have here in the middle San Ignacio Lagoon, that is the one that we go and visit. And then we have Magdalena Bay, which is the southernmost lagoon. So in these three different lagoons, the gray whales are coming. Some go in, and some also hang out just outside of these lagoons. Basically, the whole coastline of the Pacific side can have the gray whales. Um, so why Mexico, right? And I always say, why not? Everything is better down here in Mexico. So the major reason, well, there are going to be two. Number one is socializing, courting, and mating. And this is going to happen in the calm, temperate waters of the Pacific coast of Mexico, where a lot of them are going to aggregate to be social. We're going to see juveniles being social. We're going to see the matures be more into the courting process and the actual mating of these animals. And these are behaviors that we see when we go outside in the water. This is what we call, as a little bit of a joke, the shark fin, because it's the side of the fluke of the gray whale. When it's moving direction, when it's shifting, they go on the side, and then it looks the fluke that just one side comes out. And it's really exciting to see these different types of things. To be allowed, right, to or sometimes can be just for fun, we think, or to let the females know, hey, I'm here. We can see them breaching, jumping out of the water. An amazing behavior to witness when we are out there. and this is one of my favorite ones, I would say. Um, and all of these things that we see, it makes sense if why they're coming to Mexico to these protected lagoons. And basically, I always say if you have more of them in a specific spot, then for the males, they're going to find a potential partner to pass their genes. It's like going Friday night at the bar in a specific location, a lot of people. Your chances of meeting and finding someone are going to increase. If you go to a place that no one is there, or that is just too big of a place and everybody is so scattered, then finding your potential mate is going to be way more difficult. But by them coming into these close protected waters that they don't have predators actually, then they can just enjoy their moment there, not really worrying much about other things, and just again socialize and court, and then eventually mate. So they increase their chances by all of them coming to particular places. And that's why they come to Mexico. Um, so, of course, with mating, then what happens eventually is that a female is going to get pregnant and she's going to have that calf growing for 1 year. So that female goes back to Alaska to feed and then eventually makes the whole journey south, and she's going to give birth. So she's going to be pregnant for 1 year. Most of the calves, this is a big average, they are born around January 10th. It can be before, it can be after. Some are super late calves, some are super early calves, but this is just an average date. And these calves are going to stay with their moms between 6 to 7 months. Of those, between 3 to 4 are going to be when they are in Mexico. So this is a really nice sequence of some of the first studies in aerial imaging with a pregnant female that you see here at the beginning, and then of course she had their calf, and then while she's making the journey north, you can see that the calf, it is a little bit over half of the size of that mom, and this is going to happen in a time of around 3 to 4 months again. So really quickly that these calves have to grow to make the whole journey north again. So here I'm just going to show you a little bit more of pictures of the things that we could see. This set of pictures are taken by the local research group that is Gray Whale Research in Mexico. One of the researchers, Fabian, he's a drone pilot, and he takes apart from the research that he's doing these amazing images. Here you see a pretty big calf, probably more than 2 months old, and underneath you see the calf's mom. Uh, an amazing picture, and that gives us that other kind of viewpoint. The same thing, this is a different calf. You see it from the one before. They are so different. This is pretty dark and with some spots here, and then this one is quite marbly, right? So this is a different calf, also with the mom right underneath. And you see here, this is a research vessel. They are the only ones that are allowed to fly drones in the area for research purposes, but amazing footage that they take. These are some pictures that I've taken while I'm guiding. This is a calf that is rolling on top of mom. It's to see a baby gray whale in the wild, just be a baby in the wild, I think is it's it's kind of a highlight of a trip. This doesn't happen often, especially because the gray whales are coming out of a massive mortality event and they are recovering. So we're seeing more births now. So every time we see a calf, we get super excited that again they are making this comeback and this recovery. So yeah, this is another picture. That I took of our sister boat when we were out there, again, of a mom and a calf. So we can see the mating, and there's a lot of commotion, a lot of things happening. There's a lot of rolling and activity. Or we can see also this in a nice calm day, this amazing sweet moments of a mom and a calf just bonding. Okay, so the lagoon is this whole area that you see here. This is San Ignacio Lagoon. And the star that you see right here, this is Kujima Camp, the camp that we go to and stay. There are different camps, and this one is located right in the middle of the lagoon. The whale watching area is here in what it says lower part. This whole line from this red line south of it to the mouth of the lagoon is the whale watching area. So this means that tourism activities are only allowed inside of the lagoon here. The rest of it is protected for the whales. They can be whales and they are not bothered by tourism at all. Um, Only researchers actually have the access to this part. And from the camp to the starting point of the whale watching area, we make in a panga between 15 to 20 minutes, depending on the weather, depending on the wind and the waves. And there's a limited amount of boats that can be inside. This is 16 boats inside of the whale watching area and 90 minutes inside. So the time starts counting when we arrive here. There's a sheriff, a panga, it's a local sheriff that is put by the community there, and that he's counting the time that you have, who's the captain, who's the guide, and just checking that everybody's following the rules that the own community set up. So this is a little bit of how it works here in San Ignacio Lagoon. This only happens in San Ignacio Lagoon, doesn't happen in Scamon or Magdalena Bay. That's why we go to this particular place, because honestly, it's where you're going to have the best experience that the community has prepared for everybody. And this is just another cool perspective. This picture took a guest a few years ago, actually, from her phone, that I think is just amazing. And I always say, who's seeing whom, right? Is it the calf being curious to the boat and the people being curious to the calf? So yeah, this is just, a group of pictures that are kind of showing that. This is the only graph I'm going to show in the presentation, I promise. And this is to show why we go in February. Our season is short, the not half season, because we go in the month of February and beginning of March. And that happens because, as you can see here, here it says February 5th, okay? And then here to March 5th. So the peak of the season, the amount of whales that are in a specific time, is February. So it's a short season for us, even though the gray will start to show up in December, early January, all the way they could stay sometimes until April. But the peak, or as I like to say it, the cherry on top of the cake of the season is February and the first week of March. So that's why we go this time. Okay. So with this, I'm going to tell you that we will see gray whales. Like, we will see them. And that is a huge statement to make with wildlife, but I'm going to say it. We will see them. And then, depending on what are the whales doing that particular day and what is happening, is what we see, right? But the whales are going to be there because we're going at the peak of the season. Last year, 2024, the peak was right here towards February 26th. And this is the minimum amount of whales that are in the lagoon. This census is made by the researchers. Every week they make a census. So last year the peak was again February 26th, and there were at least 200 whales in the lagoon. Pretty good numbers, right? Okay. So from there, I'm going to move into the itinerary, the important stuff, and most likely maybe you already kind of have read about it or have an idea of it. But we start here in Loreto, right? You fly into Loreto. It's an international airport. It's a beautiful little town there. And from Loreto, we spend 2 nights. The first night is going to be in Loreto, and the last night before you go. So that's why I have written there 2 nights. And then from here, we take a big bus all the way to Santa Rosalia. From there, we turn to the desert until we arrive to San Ignacio town. This is a 6-hour bus drive. It is not a boring one. It is long, yes. It is whiny, yes. Everybody has a window seat because it's a big bus for all of our guests. And we have 16 guests in this trip. So maximum. So everybody has a window seat, place to spread, and also to look, because as you can see, we're going to be cruising actually the Sea of Cortez almost the entire time. And then once we cross to San Ignacio town, here we transfer into two vans to go into San Ignacio Lagoon. And it takes from the town to the lagoon around an hour and a half, depending on how the road is. Every year can be different because after the hurricane season, the roads change. They can be damaged, and it's partly a paved road and then partly a washboard to get there. But it's a beautiful area that we're crossing the whole desert to make it to San Ignacio Lagoon. And then in San Ignacio Lagoon, we are spending 3 nights at Kujima Camp, right? And then we have in total 6 whale watching excursions. We're going to be spending a lot of time in the water. The day that we arrive, that we leave Loreto, we make it all the way to San Ignacio, and we are we say on a German clock to make it, because we're going out on our first whale watch that day, weather allowing. But that day, the plan is always to go to our first whale watch. And then we have two full days that we have 2 outings. We have breakfast, we go out, and it takes around 3 hours to make the whole trip, because you have the 90 minutes inside of the whale watching area, plus the time that take you to go there and the time to come back. And then morning, whale watching, lunch, whale watching, dinner. In the times in between, we can have different activities to do there for the people that are interested. Sometimes we need to put the 2 whale watchings in the morning. Why? Because of the weather. This time of the year in the winter, we have the northern winds. The nortes, as we call them, can be really strong, and the whale watching area is closed because the sheriff closed it because it's too rough to go out. So then we move, and we're going to shift what we have to do in order to make the 6 whale watching excursions that we want to do. Okay. And then the last day before we leave in the morning, we do our last whale watching excursion. So again, we're going to be spending a lot of time in the water. We have to, because that's where the whales are. And I always recommend, don't miss one, because you never know of all of them when is the time that amazing things are going to happen. And we come back and we have our farewell dinner in Loreto. So basically, that is what happens in this trip. I would say logistically is quite easy to run, in the way that we leave Loreto, we go to one place and we stay there, and we don't move from there, and then we just come back, and then you go. So yeah, it's I think it's a pretty smooth trip in that way. So the accommodations in Loreto, we stay at La Misión Hotel. It has a perfect and best location, just in front of the boardwalk of the Malecón, as we call it. And behind it, we have the town of Loreto, walking distance 5 minutes. The whole town of Loreto is walkable, super safe, amazing, nice. The hotel there has a restaurant. If you don't want to go out, if you want to go out, there's restaurants kind of everywhere. It has an open kind of pizza bar area, a big pool, jacuzzi, and as I mentioned before, a great location. So we've been working with this hotel for many years. They know us, we know them, and yeah, we have a great relationship with the hotel. So these are just some pictures of Loreto, of the town. This arch is it's 1 block away from the hotel, and this is the main walking road that takes you to the main plaza and the main church. It's every Mexican town, you need to have a plaza and a church. So Loreto, of course, has one of those. And as I was telling you, it's right in front of the boardwalk of the Malecon, and really close to, I would say, 2.5 blocks away from the marina where the pangas or these skiff boats are. If you are taking an excursion before or after your trip, this hotel is located on a great spot for that. Talking about before and after, Loreto is a beautiful magic town. We call those in Mexico because Loreto has unique wildlife, unique nature, and history. So it was designated by the Mexican government as a magic town. And during the winter, a lot of people go to Loreto to visit this place. There's a community of Canadian and American expats. Tourism from Mexico also goes there, especially to the islands of Loreto. So if you're planning on spending an extra day before or after your trip, I highly recommend it because you have a marine protected area. The whole Bay of Loreto has 5 islands, and this is just one that is in front of Loreto, Coronado Island, and the local community there offers fishing excursions or boat excursions for snorkeling and for wildlife watching and just enjoying a chill day at the beach here too in Coronado Island. Also to see blue whales. I used to work with blue whales as a researcher there, and Loreto is one of the best places in the world to see blue whales. The blue whales don't make it easy. That being said, not every single day you can see them, but you have really good chances of seeing them, and that's why Loreto is a hotspot. And guess what? The best time of the year to do that is February and March when we're running our trips. So I highly recommend, if you're a whale lover, as I am, as my whole team is, consider to spend some extra days there because you can go out and right in front of Hotel La Mission, sometimes we're seeing the spouts of the whales. You could see fin whales, blue whales, humpback whales, big pods of dolphins, marine birds also. So highly recommended. If you're more inclined into history, Loreto has a lot of history because it was the mother mission of the Spaniard missionaries when they started here in Baja and continue all the way to the Upper California, currently in the US. So it has a great mission there, a museum right next to it. There's another mission town in the mountains of Loreto that people can take excursions to go there. So again, depending on your interest, I highly recommend that you get to experience the town of Loreto itself, because in this trip, basically we're just departing from there and leaving from there, right? So just some extra information. So as I was telling you at the beginning, a really important thing for me in this whole trip is the people, and you'll see that everybody that works in this itinerary is very passionate. We work in an amazing environment, and you'll meet our local staff in Loreto, Rosa and Catalina, mother and daughter. Rosa has been working with us for over 30 years in this program. Catalina joined 2 years ago, and they are the best local staff. They are the ones that are welcoming you at the airport, and then your ELs, if you arrive the day of the trip, will be at the hotel, making sure that everything goes smooth. So you'll have a support system of 4 women, basically, there in Loreto, before your trip and after your trip too. So yeah, I just wanted to introduce them to you. And also we have the local camp staff, that are people from the community there that work at the camps. For example, here we have the kitchen team. They're all women from the little town there next to the lagoon, that they take advantage of the season to work, because the rest of the year the men are the ones that are working fishing. So winter is important for the local women there. And the local staff are the ones that are going to help us, also, getting in and out of the panga. There's local guides there that are just extra resources for us. Always helpful, kind people that want to make your trip the best trip ever. So really important part of it. So we talk about accommodations in Loreto and the accommodations in Kojima camp. The local community are the only ones that are able to own the land and own the camps. This is an arrangement that they have, and we as NatHab, we go and we support the local economy by going to these camps. We've been partnering with Kojima camp for more than 30 years, for the whole time that we've been running this program, that Rosa has been part of. And we stay at these cabanas. They are basic, they are rustic. These are the best that we have there in the whole lagoon. They are spaced between them. We have our own spot. No one else is going to be there while we are in this place. Each cabana has 2 beds inside. and a little closet to put your things. And then we have we have an emergency toilet inside of each cabanas for the night. And then outside, right in front of the cabanas, we have composting toilet and a cup with water toilets too. It is right next to the ocean here. You can see, depending on the tide, the water line can go all the way up here to the shells or really down because it's so shallow. But it's a great location. Kojima Camp is amazing. We have beautiful sunsets and sunrises. It's all flat over there. We only have a mesa that is at the distance, so you can see far away, which is something that I love. And sometimes at night, if we don't have any wind, you could hear the whales spout if they are passing by because they are using that part of the lagoon too, which I think is pretty special. The food at the camp is homemade, traditional, everything is made from scratch. We're going to accommodate special diets, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, celiac, you name it. We need the right information in advance because sometimes we have to bring those supplies because it's not easy to find. The camp is at a really remote location, and we just need to have the right information to be able to accommodate for any special diets. It is not a restaurant that you have different a lot of different options, but we always provide kind of two options, more of a vegetarian option and more of a protein option. Even though if you're not vegetarian and you're more inclined into that, you could choose to, for example, that night have the vegetarian one. But if you're celiac vegan, we're going to accommodate your meal that is prepared just for you, which I think it's pretty nice. Um, and the food in Loreto is two local restaurants that we know that they serve good food, good service, locally owned by families. Actually, Mitas Gourmet, they just renovated for this year. They opened a new location, but it's the same restaurant that we've been going. And Rosa, basically our local staff, we always joke that she's like the mayor in town. She went to the opening. She was invited to the opening, and I think that's really special and speaks volumes of the good relationships that we have with our local vendor suppliers and partners. So we go to Mitas Gourmet for welcome dinner, and then for farewell dinner we go to Mi Loreto restaurant, again both owned by local families there. The transportation to the camp, I mentioned that we have a big bus for 16 guests plus two guides, so for 18 people, so we can spread. There's a restroom inside, a functioning restroom inside of the bus that you can use. We also make stops along the way, a biological stop, we call it, for everybody to be more comfortable. And we have snacks also, and we'll be making historical interpretation, and natural history interpretation too along the way. So it is not going to be a boring 6-hour bus drive, I promise. But if you want to take a nap and sleep, and that's totally fine too. And I mentioned before that we transfer into two vans that take us from San Ignacio town to the lagoons. So it's way more comfortable and faster because of the road to take the vans. And we divide into two with one expedition leader in each, and we make the trip of 1 hour 15, maximum 1 hour 30 minutes to get to the lagoon. And then our other means of transportation is going to be, of course, what we call pangas. Pangas are these fiberglass skiffs that the fishermen have modified from fishing to do tourism in the winter. And they don't have a shade, as you can see here, so it's always super important to bring a lot of sun protection because of that. And yeah, so bus, vans, and panga we'll be using. Important thing to know is that depending on the tide is whether you're going to get your feet wet or not to hop into the panga. If we have a medium to a high tide, then we use this ramp that you see here. And from the ramp, we have a little step, and then we help everybody to go into. So the group divides into two different pangas, and each panga has a guide. And then this is what we would do, but sometimes if we have a full moon or a new moon, with a big difference in the tides, especially in the winter with the king tides, you can see all the way here is the Panga, and this is the same beach. Is the same beach, and you can see how the tide has gone all the way to the back. And then, because it's so shallow, the lagoon is pretty shallow at the edges, especially at the edges, the panga cannot come any closer. And then from there, we kind of just do a little bit of a swing of the legs and we go down, and then you'll get your feet wet. So that's why you have to bring water shoes, or also boots, for example, or some people I've seen that bring like waders because they don't want to get their feet wet. That depending on each person. Sometimes I have my tivas. The water is chilly, it's cold, it's the Pacific side. I would say like in California, that's the temperature of the water. So depending on you, it's some people bring neoprene socks to keep their feet warm. Some guests I've seen have their tivas, for example, or any type of water shoe, and then they don't want to keep their feet wet, so they bring a little towel, and then in the panga they dry their feet and put some shoes. But then sometimes they have to take them out to walk again with the tide is low. So this is super important information for your packing. Okay, so water shoes, yes. Okay. What to bring? These are the essentials. Camera gear, whether it's a big camera, a small camera, a phone, or not. If you don't like to take pictures, that's totally fine. Um, I love taking my GoPro because I can take underwater footage when we have whales pretty close. I use a lot of the pictures that I shared with you. I took those pictures, and I have a 100 to 400 lens that I find it amazing to use because it's light, and it gives me, when we have more distance with the whales, a nice advantage point with that. As I've seen guests carrying big lenses because they want to take a picture of the eye of the whale when it's doing a spy hop, or you can even see the lice of it, right? So that really depends on you. And GoPros, if you have a GoPro, bring it. If you don't know really how to use it, we can help you with that. The ELs, we are familiar with them, and you can take amazing footage. If not, that's totally fine because we have them, and then we are sharing through um, the the web page that NatHab has created, all the pictures that the eels are taking and that different guests are taking. So camera gear, super important, and binoculars, highly recommended, especially if you like birds. Over there we have mangroves, and we have migrating birds that are passing by, just crossing the lagoon, or on the way, or from the shoreline even. If you like birding, bring your binoculars because from the camp, depending on the tide, we can see really good birds. So yeah, have that. And waterproof everything, waterproof jacket, pants, shoes, because we can have winds, as I mentioned before, and as we are in the panga, it's not really much for rain, which sometimes can rain. We've had winter rains before, not that common, but potential for that. But it's more about when we are in motion, the waves that are created from the wind, and the wind pushes that kind of wave into the boat. So yeah, bring your water pants, shoes, jacket, be ready for that. A dry bag that is waterproof, or yeah, a backpack that is waterproof, or a dry bag, I highly recommend it, especially if you're bringing your camera gear. um, yeah, like have one. We provide little like waterproof bags if you just want to carry like your phone or your sunscreen, and that's it, and you don't want to bring something else. We lend those while we are at camp, so just be aware of that. I like to bring an extra layer because the weather can change a lot in the lagoon. So you need to peel off sometimes when the sun comes out, and then suddenly the weather changes like that and the wind starts. So you have to add your layers. So just think about it. I am always cold. As you can see right now, I have my puffy vest. So most of the time I have a vest, and then I have a fleece, and then I have a puffy jacket, and then I have a winter coat, or like the waterproof coat. For some people, they only have like a fleece, and then they have their windbreaker. I've had guests that are coming from Arizona, from Florida, for places that they're not used to being exposed to the wind and the cold, and the puffy is really helpful. So you know yourself, and just think about it, how you'll be more comfortable out there. Sunglasses, sunscreen, sun hat, all of those important things that you need to bring. So essentially, some pants, some shirts, some shoes, waterproof stuff. That's what you need. And of course, a big sense of adventure. That's really important. Sorry, so that is an example of the weather. We always say that in Lagoon it can be a little bit of everything because we don't have mountains. We're just exposed to the Pacific Ocean, to the winds, right? So it can change so much. It can be one day cloudy and cold, and then suddenly in the afternoon is sunny and hot, and you want to be in shorts. And then at night it drops down and it's the winds start again, and you are like, oh, I need my puffy. So that happens a lot while we are at camp. So again, be aware of that. Okay, so a question that I get a lot is, apart from the gray whales, what else? If you're someone that you're thinking about making this trip and you haven't decided, um, if you love whales, if you are a marine human, as I am, as everybody in the team that works here, they are, then you're going to love this trip because we're going to maximize our time with our whales. The point of this trip is to be out there seeing the gray whales, right? Now, that being said, times in between, we do go out either beach combing. We love to find treasures because this lagoon, it's a part of the biosphere reserve, so protected. You see tons of different types of shells and snails and shark eggs and bones and things like that, that we love to do like beach combing there in a low tide. Birds, naturally, because we're surrounded by mangroves, we'll see marine birds, especially some land birds too from the desert. We see there a paw print of a coyote that they sometimes pass around. We could see them. But this trip, it is not focused on a diversity of species. It is focused on the gray whale. So I think this is just something that is important to put it out there, right? So your expectations of the trip are correct, that it's going to be focused on the gray whales, and we're going to do everything possible to do our 6 outings and spend all that time outside in the water. We have the potential of seeing other things, yes. I hope that this makes sense. Okay. Well, my friends, with this, I think this is it for me. I hope that a lot of your questions again, sorry, have answers. And if you have anything else that you want me to explain more or talk a little bit more in detail, I am here for that. Okay, but thank you, and I cannot wait to see you if you're joining us this February very soon.
That was great, Sophia. Thank you so much. You're just giving me the travel itch. I would love to come down and go on this adventure myself. So I'm quite envious in the best way possible of anybody who's tuned in right now, who's booked. You're going to go down and have such an amazing time. We do
Yeah.
have some questions here, and everybody, we will take questions for a little while. So in your control panel, there is a questions field. Go ahead and put that on in there, and we will go for, I don't know, about the next 10 minutes, Sophia, if that sounds good to you.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got going on. Could you elaborate a little bit more about mosquitoes and or biting insects? Is that an issue on this trip?
Mm-hmm. So it is not really an issue because even though we have the mangroves right next to us, and we might think that there's a lot of mosquitoes, there aren't, because mosquitoes need fresh water, right, to hatch and to be. And we don't really have fresh water. Our mangroves are only in salt water. So even though if we had a little bit of rain, um, mosquitoes are not a big problem. we always just like we have a package of a little bit of the mosquito repellent just in case that we bring it. Like honestly, you don't have to bring it yourself unless you use a specific one, but I've never really used it. Of other stinging insects or things that we could potentially worry, because we are right in the coastline, we don't really have to worry about reptiles, which that would be a thing, like snakes or also scorpions from the desert, because those are in the desert and we are right there in the coastline. So not even of those animals we have to worry. Yeah, I think that's it. It's a mosquito-free trip or a bug-free trip, definitely.
That is very reassuring. The great person that submitted that said that they are prone to get bit by mosquitoes. So I hope that that helps settle any nervousness about bitey insects on this trip.
Perfect.
Next, could you maybe speak about the safety of this? Some people have some questions just with some of the stuff that's in the news. Could you talk about maybe Baja Loreto and the safety of the area?
Totally. So I think a lot of the alarming things that happen in the news are from mainland Mexico, or if they're from the peninsula, they are from the north, so around Tijuana, or all the way in the south around Cabo. And you'll be heading to the right in the middle of the peninsula, where there's no big towns, big cities, much happening, honestly, apart from tourism, like fishing, little fishing towns and tourism. Loreto is a pretty safe town. I think that's why there's a huge community of expats, both Canadian and American, that make it home for the whole year in Loreto. It's a small town, not more than 20,000 people living in Loreto. Yeah, it's you can walk at night, you can go to the boardwalk, you can walk from the restaurant at night back to the hotel, and you don't have to worry about it. Um, yeah, we've never had an issue. We've been running this trip again for more than 30 years, and it's a pretty safe town. So yeah, I honestly I wouldn't worry much about it. Yeah, it's I would move to Loreto at some point in my life if La Paz continues to grow, because I live more in the city. So yeah, regarding the safety, I think as in any place that you're traveling, you have to be, cautious. But even I think for us in Loreto, we chill and we relax so much because of the ambience in there. Is You'll see a lot of people in the winter that are spending their holidays there, their vacation there. So I promise that you'll be safe and you'll be totally fine there.
Great, thanks for that. Could you maybe elaborate a little bit on the physical requirements for the trip? Is it really active? Yeah, that would be great.
Yes, of course. So this trip is not an active trip because we spend a lot of time in a boat in the water, and we are sitting, and that's what you have to be doing to whale watch, right? You sit and you wait, and you're in a boat. So what I do recommend, especially getting in and out of the boat, sometimes can be tricky because from that ramp is like a step, and there's a lot of bending your knees and things like that. But we always accommodate to our guests, honestly. With our local staff, we're helping people in and out of the boat, or you have to shuffle and walk in uneven surfaces because you're walking on the beach that has some rocks when the tide is low. So just think about that. If sometimes we have guests that they love whale watching, they love the ocean, but they are a little bit more active. And then we have the beach, right? And then I tell them, okay, we're doing these activities. If in the middle you have the time, you are free to walk the whole shoreline in the morning, so you can build your steps, right? Or before sunset, or around after dinner time, for example. Because sometimes it happens to me too. I love being in the ocean. I love to sit and to see whales, but I also like to move around. So I think it's a really friendly trip for people that, if you're not big into moving a lot or that, because you're going to be there just enjoy nature from the boat. And if you just want to stay back and in one of the activities, stay at the camp, we are right there in front of the ocean and you can just grab a chair and enjoy. But again, if you want to move a little bit more, you can join us, or you will have some time for those folks that want to move a little bit more. When we have wind and we have the waves, of course, it can be pretty choppy in that way. And we're moving to the whale watching area and back, especially back. We're against the winds, so the panga can do like the classic splashing and bumping. So then we always accommodate our groups to move basically to the back of the boat where you have less of that movements, and then we, the guides, move to the front, right, when we have more of that bouncing movement. If you are someone that you're worried about your back, let's say, then we prioritize you to be all the way in the back and you won't feel a thing. Some people find it fun to be in the front, so it really depends on that. So maybe just think about the back because of those movements. The boats have cushions now on the seats. Actually, I think in this picture you see the cushion. Some you carry, some already has the cushion there. So maybe I think that would be the only thing that I would worry about, the backs and the motion. But again, we do accommodate that too.
Great, thank you. Just everybody, I am receiving a lot of questions right now if this will be available afterwards. And yes, I do record and post all of them. You will receive a replay in your email. And also, we post all of our webinars on the Daily Dose of Nature show page on the website. So, just FYI, I promise you will have a replay available just later today. I will get this up. So, moving on, Sophia, could you talk about the chances of snorkeling or swimming in the lagoon?
Yes. So in the lagoon, snorkeling, it's a big no for two reasons. One, the visibility. The visibility of the lagoon, of the water visibility is terrible. I was explaining that it's a shallow lagoon. The maximum depth is the channel in the center that is around 60 feet. That's it. And every day we have strong currents from the mouth coming all the way in and then all the way out. So this creates a lot of mixing of the water from the sediment that is soft. It's sand. And that time of the year we have a lot of like red algae. So it's so mixed. So if you put your hand inside, sometimes you don't even see it. And we don't have rocky reefs or coral reefs or anything to see inside of a lagoon. If you want to swim, just to go for a swim, you can do that, but this has to be on a high tide, right? Because in a low tide, you have to go all the way, and all the way we have a line that divides the traffic line from the pangas, right, that are coming and going to the whale watching area. So this has to be on a high tide. The recommendation, if you're interested in snorkeling, definitely do it in Loreto. It's beautiful, it's amazing. Before or after the trip, spend an extra day there. And in Loreto, you can go to Carmen Island or Coronado or Danzante Island. Local companies there offer snorkeling trips. You can do a little bit of whale watching and then snorkel, for example. And in Coronado Island, there's white sand beaches with beautiful visibility of the water, and there's rocky reefs, colorful fish. Even has a little rookery of sea lions. So if snorkeling it's a big thing for you, I recommend that you do it in Loreto. In the lagoon, you won't see a thing. From the boat, snorkeling is not allowed because the whales are protected by the Mexican law, and there's no snorkeling with the whales in Mexico. So hopefully this answers that question.
That did, and that also answered some people's questions who are arriving a little bit early onto the trip and they were wondering what to do. So there you go. Those are fantastic recommendations. Sounds like lots of fun things to do in Loretto.
Definitely.
Great. Okay, moving on. Um, Could you talk a little bit more about the cuisine? Is it possible for people with food sensitivities or if they don't like spicy foods? Will that be accommodated on this trip?
Yes, absolutely. And just for you to know, I don't eat spicy food because my stomach is really sensitive. So I always say I'm a bad Mexican because of that. So yeah, the food is not going to be spicy, like hot spicy. That's always going to be served on the side. If you like spicy food, then you can add the hot sauce right to your meal, or we're going to let you know in the restaurants of the menu what doesn't have any spices, or yeah, if you prefer more of a, I don't know, yeah, less hot and less mixed food, then there are options. At the camp, same thing. If you have a particular sensitivity, just let us know and we're going to accommodate that. The kitchen ladies really take such a good care of us with if we have any special diet, they do. They are there to prepare delicious food, and everything is made from scratch. So with time in advance, we let them know who has, for example, like me, I have some sensitivity to lactose and things like that, and they are making something different for me or for the guests that have to. So yeah, don't worry about it. Just make sure to put that information that is clear on your diet, and we'll accommodate that.
Fantastic. Alrighty, that is going to be the last question that we're going to take today. If you have any further questions, if you're already booked, please reach out to the concierge team. They'll be happy to answer your pre-trip questions. And if you would like to get booked, reach out to your adventure specialist. We have a fantastic team on both teams, and they would love to get you either prepared or booked on the trip because this is such a special, special opportunity. So, Sophia, I would love to turn it to you for any last closing comments.
Well, thank you for tuning in and for having questions and everything. And I really hope that you make the decision to come if you haven't decided. And if you're coming, then I cannot wait to see you. The gray wolves are already here; they're continuing to arrive, and this is an amazing place. It's so special for me, and I hope that I get to be your guide or any other of my team members. We care deeply about this place, and I think it's going to show. So thank you very much for tuning, and I hope that you join us. And have a great day.
Yes, thank you so much for taking the time to present for us today, Sophia. And I'd like to thank everyone who tuned in. Join us tomorrow for our next daily dose of nature. You can check out this week's lineup, including registration links, on our website at nethab.com/webinars. We did record today's presentation, and we will have the replay available on our website soon. With that, I will conclude the webinar. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.